and welcome to Rad Chat. My name's Jo McNamara and I'm joined by fellow host Lauren Anderson.
Hi everyone.
So we have Emma here.
Hi.
Emma, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
So my name is Emma. I work in the Belfast Radiotherapy Department in Northern Ireland, and I have been running the social media for our radiotherapy department. And that's how I met these guys.
Amazing social media. So ordinarily we would sit and ask you some questions, but you have very proudly won the UKIO 25 sticker competition. Shared ruthlessly on social media and annihilated anyone else from achieving it. And one of your prizes was to be the host of Rad Chat, of which we've given you 30 seconds notice.
Yep.
And you've literally gone, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that.
But because you're a radiographer, you're flexible, adaptable, easy.
I talk a lot is what you mean.
I didn't say that.
So Emma, over to you.
Well, welcome to my podcast.
What would you call it?
Oh, I would have to keep with the social media, the Beam Team.
Yeah.
NICC Beam Team.
Perfect.
But we'd expand that to include you guys.
Oh, thanks.
So how are you finding UKIO this year?
Busy.
Busy, as always. We were just talking at breakfast about how many episodes we did a couple of years ago. That was 35. And now, because we are also very competitive, we are aiming for 35 episodes or more. I think it's nice to see the Radiotherapy Hub, which is next to us. Obviously we're biased because we like therapeutic radiography, but I think just the vast differences in all the different, like the delegate backgrounds is really nice.
Yeah. Do you know what I've really liked is actually having regulars. So people come on every single year, and actually it's really nice to see their professional development, their areas of interest, their career changes, like they've sometimes moved jobs or moved departments. And I actually really like that relationship building where you're like, oh, we've been kind of having you on Rad Chat for 3 years now. And I love that.
Yeah. And I suppose this year with UKIO being so big on sustainability, your podcast is great because it reaches so many different countries. So at the minute, from where you started, who is your audience now? How much has it grown? And what do you do differently, or what do you do to help with sustainability? Wow. Sorry, I should have prepped you for that question, should I?
No, it's a good question. Go on, you can go.
I think we're listened to in 129 countries now around the world. And Numan and I are absolutely passionate about making it free and accessible. So we're not just available on podcast libraries. We have a free website that anyone, anywhere in the world can access. And we're really passionate about that. And I suppose from the sustainability perspective, we are really conscious about the environment and doing what we can do. And I know Numan and I absolutely make the small changes that we can, even on a conference. So we'll use public transport where we can. We're really conscious about essentially making, not always great.
Walk for 2.5 hours sometimes. Wow. Let's not say why we did that, but that's fine.
but we do make those conscious decisions, and in our everyday lives, I know we recycle. I sold my car and got a bike. Like, we actively are really conscious about the environment, but also, I know it sounds stupid, but the freebies that you get at conferences. Numan and I could have loads of plastic bits in our houses, but it's not the case. We will use things. And Numan always brings his thermos flask to every conference.
I was going to say, we have a lot of reusable bottles here, and I'm loving to see it.
Yeah.
See, people get annoyed with me when I go and get coffee and I use my I'm like, because it's not the branded. It's like, yeah, but I'm just going to drink that, throw it in the bin, and the compostable things still take years to decompose.
It's still
not
a lot
quick.
of work.
So, yeah, sorry, branding.
So I think we are very conscious of it, and being free and accessible and digital, I think, is the big thing. Lots of people do like face-to-face, and it's great to have that connection, but a lot of the time you do need to think, actually, does everyone need to travel long distances to get somewhere and access free education?
I think to point out as well, we don't make any money from this. If we make money, it goes into going to Estro and things like that. So don't get me wrong, I'd love to do this a couple of days a week, but that's not really why we're doing it. It started as something quite small and it's become something pretty big. We were only in the UK when we started. Now, lots of different countries, and a lot of those countries don't have cancer charities, or they don't have, the SOR or some sort of member organisation that they can rely on for this sort of content. So that's it's quite something to be proud of.
I think what you do is very unique.
Yeah.
You know, and the broad audience that you have has made a real difference to radiotherapy, whether that be for patients or professionals or students. Students are coming into our department saying, well, where can I learn about this? And I signpost them to you, and they end up listening to 4 episodes in an evening, and they have it on in the background, travelling into uni or travelling into placement, and then they're coming having discussions. What you have done has bridged a real knowledge barrier. So, you know, it's appropriate for me as a trained member of staff, it's appropriate for students, but it's also appropriate for patients.
Yeah.
And I think what you have done is incredibly special, and I think you should be very proud of that.
Thanks.
We don't like attention.
No. But I would
Melting in my
also
seat.
I would also push it back and say, yes, we might facilitate it, but actually it's people like you. It's like those radiographers who go in every day, who then come on and share their knowledge and experience. And I would say it's all about the guests. And you know, we've won awards. Numman's won a lot of awards.
You've won a lot.
But a lot of what we do is as a consequence of the people that have kind of driven that or supported that, and we've been very lucky to have the level of support that we've had from the community, because we definitely felt pressure when we started to put your head above the parapet, because in radiotherapy, and I don't know why it is, because if we were physios, this wouldn't be an issue, or no one would necessarily think any different of, oh, someone started a podcast. But honestly, as therapeutic radiographers, like, we didn't get any hate messages, don't get me wrong, but we did get people going, oh, should you be putting that kind of content out? Or have you got all the comms sign off to put a picture of a linear accelerator on the internet? And some of it you do have to push back and go, other professions do it, patients are doing it, you know, doctors are doing it. So why are we as a profession limiting ourselves in not being visible to the general public, to patients and to other healthcare professionals? So it was challenging, and we did get people not necessarily kind of challenge us, but question, are you safe doing this? Is this good for your careers? And it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I think some of it is that they're uncomfortable getting out their own comfort zone.
Yeah.
So when we've had some like very powerful lived experience episodes, so like Holly Roberts, always go back to that one. Larson's cried, her son had a brain tumour and died. Like, we both cried on the episode. Like, thousands of people listened to it. They cried, they've sent in like, oh, we should put a trigger warning, and that helped us realise we should probably do something like that. But lots of people, I think, reached out and said that's too raw to be putting out there. It's like, well, it isn't. Because that's someone's experience, and now that's going to help another person and another person. That's the whole point of it.
Because I listened to that one and I did weep. You know, it was very moving, it was very personal, and the questions that were directed allowed that to be explored. And I think that's important for it not to be taboo, because it will happen to other people. And I think that's where you guys are unique, you know, in sharing that information and getting those people on to have those discussions. And I think it is really vital.
We laughed yesterday because someone stopped by the booth and they said, you know, it's great that you bring up topics that maybe are taboo or that people avoid. And they said, although I did worry for both of you because you went through a phase of about 2 months where all of the podcast episodes were about sex and intimacy.
Yeah, they were.
and they said, were you like horny? Like, did you need to, you know, explore your sexuality or something? And I was like, maybe. But I do think we go through phases where we maybe get lots of questions from patients about certain topics, and we want to respond to those. So I never ever in my wildest dreams anticipated just how many people would use social media to contact and ask questions about radiotherapy, radiation treatments, the diagnostic pathway, you know, some of it outside of our scope of practice. But I was in absolute awe of just how many people are scrabbling for information.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not available anywhere, or they don't have the confidence to go to their clinical teams. Like a lot of the support and advice that we offer on social media when patients DM us is, have you spoken to your team? And they're like, oh, I don't want to bother them. And our response is, please do. Like, that they would love that you have reached out and asked those questions rather than use social media. And I think that's been really insightful, but also helped drive our content.
You don't know what you don't know. That's what it is. And I think safety and information, especially now with AI and all sorts of crap that is out there, I think that for us being HCPC registered and our amazing advisory team who work with us and are all registered professionals, that's where we can also bounce back and say, is this okay? And they'll respond really bluntly or really nicely, which is what we want. Because you need that constructive criticism. And I think, again, as we are the first time doing something like this, it can be quite lonely for both of us, as we're like, is this right? We'll just have to wait and see.
Fantastic. And final question, where do you see yourselves this time next year?
I'd love the website to get more traction.
Okay.
So we hopefully have, sitting in the ether somewhere, just waiting for sign off, 2,000 images of people of colour, which that will absolutely transform that image library. And I absolutely think that if we can package education using those images, that could be a really powerful
vital
resource for radiographers, but also oncologists and other people like dermatologists, clinical nurse specialists. So I think, really pushing that and driving it home and helping to tell people about RadChat. We still meet people who don't know about it or haven't heard it, and I suppose it's kind of saying there is a lot there that actually is outside of just radiotherapy. That there's immunotherapy is starting to become massive now, especially, and it will impact us as therapeutic radiographers. So we want to get the message out there as much as possible. So share, like a true influencer. Like and share it.
Hashtag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think similarly, the image library's been amazing. I uploaded a couple of images last week of an allergic reaction on a person of colour, and they look great. And I've had a few people text me just saying, never knew this, thank you. Obviously that's one person who we know who's been brave enough to share it, but that's the impact. And I think with the episodes we've done as well as sex and intimacy, things like that people have listened in, in Singapore, Malaysia, all these other places where you wouldn't consider are really engaging with us, but they've now considered setting up their own sex intimacy place, things like that, or like the skincare one we always talk about with the midwives who've changed practice for Aboriginal babies in Australia. You can't really measure that, but
you know the impact.
It's incredible. We've done that, and weirdly, I've had a few patients recently hear me in a corridor, and they said, I know your voice. I'm like, that's really weird, but and they'll give us really nice feedback, but a lot of people will send, they'll Google radiotherapy, and when we come up, they'll send it to people and say, listen to this, you're going for radiotherapy, here are those. So I think I'd like on the website, it's going to take a lot of work, but to actually have them as breast cancer, so people can quickly direct. You can do it on Spotify and stuff, but it's a lot of effort. I think just to make it as accessible and easy as possible for people, that will be a few weekends of our time at some point. But that's the other thing, is we give our own time to do this on top of everything, but patients are obviously going through so much, and that's what we know is going to be the benefit of what's going on. So just excited. I love it. It's not a job.
So everyone always goes, you're doing too much. If you go above and beyond, everyone's like, you're
going to burn out.
You're going to burn out. But actually, this is what keeps me going.
You can tell you have a real passion and a drive, and that you've got each other, which is amazing. But I think you also have us as a community, other radiographers, other specialists,
And we've got the dream team, in terms of people that sit behind RadChat. They hate being on camera, probably all of them, apart from maybe James. James loves a bit of camera action, but honestly, we couldn't do it without them, and our student team. It's incredible to have them, and even sometimes it's just on the WhatsApp group. I'm thinking about this, or is this right? And everyone has a different opinion, but it's great because then what might challenge you out there in the radiotherapy and oncology space. So it's great. We're very lucky to do what we do. But if any industry partners are listening and they want to give us some money so that we can pay our guests, so we can do more conferences like this, provide merch for people who win competitions,
t-shirts,
then absolutely we'd really appreciate it, because it just helps engage people.
Absolutely. Brilliant. You have been fabulous guests. I think I've been an okay host.
I was really nervous.
So was I. But it's been great. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.